Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reds Rundown podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob, he's Joe, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Joe, we always lead off every show with just asking, how are you? You've been enjoying, I know, the Final Four men's basketball. We're getting ready for the NFL draft. The Reds had a good week. Is everything else going well for you, too?
Yeah, no, it's an awesome time to be a sports fan. Awesome time to be a Reds fan. It didn't look like it was going to be a good week, and then we ended up making it a good week. So that's always good to see.
Yeah, it was a weird week for our Cincinnati Reds, and one that we will, I think, be talking about extensively, Joe, as the Reds, yeah, they did have a good week, but I think you and I both have a lot of things that we need to discuss. As always, we're going to go through the run of show really quickly. Today, we are going to get into, well, I guess I'll start with our question of the day. Let us know in the comments section below. As always, make sure you guys like and subscribe as well to become a part of the Reds Rundown community here. But would you rather have the luck that the Reds are having right now, or would you rather have it in the middle of the season when they generally seem to start heating up, Joe, in June? That is something that we'll kind of answer throughout this episode, but we would love to know what your guys' thoughts are. We will be going into the games this past week. We'll talk about Pirates and Rangers, Joe. We'll do a quick injury update. I want to talk a little bit about Noelvi Marte and Rhys Hines very specifically, and then we will discuss what will be a very busy week for our Cincinnati Reds. 7 games this week, Joe. Marlins and the Angels. Are you ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we started off with our games from this past week, and as a reminder, we were finishing everything up, Joe, in March, which is still kind of crazy to think about. Baseball, that many baseball games in March, but that is the way it went. The Reds started off with a 2-0 win over the Pirates this week, Joe, with Chase Burns just being absolutely electric. He looked a little shaky to start off, but he would find his command and would go 5 innings, only 1 hit, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, something you can kind of expect from him. And then it was Jose Franco who would come in and kind of lock things down with 1 2/3 innings pitched. 3 hits, his only action so far this season, but he's doing what the long man needed to do. Graham Ashcraft would come in an inning and a third, strike 3 out. And then Connor Phillips would struggle a little bit initially, but would be the one to notch down his very first save. The Reds would struggle with runners in scoring position, but Spencer Steer would get a sac fly. Will Benson would get a big triple as well, and would give the Reds the 2 runs that they needed. The next game, though, was an unfortunate one. Brandon Williamson struggled early on, just struggled in general, but early on he was barely missing. His spots were pretty close, but he ended up getting a little too much of the plate on a couple of pitches. The big one being what was unfortunately, I believe it was a 1-2 count or an 0-2 count, something like that, to Ryan O'Hearn, who would take him deep for a 3-run home run. He would give up 6 earned runs on 6 hits in just under 5 innings pitched. He'd only walked 2, strike out 3, but the 3 home runs were his biggest problem. And then Pierce Johnson would also struggle and give up another 2 runs, Joe, which was very unfortunate. The Reds would have some hitting, though. Elly De La Cruz and Sal Stewart would each hit their second home run of the year in the 8th inning, going back-to-back. When you thought maybe they might be able to claw their way back. At that point, it would be 6-3 heading into the 9th inning, but the Reds would not be able to hold it down. They'd lose 8-3. They would repeat that score and lose again to Paul Skeens. Andrew Abbott would really, realistically pitch a pretty solid game overall. It was 1 home run that would in the first inning that really was the stinker for him, if you want to say. A 3-run home run from O'Neal Cruz with 2 outs, unfortunately for him. But Abbott would go 5 2/3 on only 5 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. The big home run being the problem there. Connor Phillips would unfortunately walk a run-in, which was, not great to say the least. And then Emilio Pagan would struggle mightily in his first action. That was not a save in quite some time. The Reds, like I said, would get some hitting. Eugenio Suarez would try to bring them back. His 2-run home run made it 4-3, and you felt like maybe the Reds had a chance until that ninth inning where Pagan would struggle. Joe, I don't know what it is about the Pirates, because they've got good pitching. Paul Skeens went 5 innings. We did get our first run since his debut game against him, but he would scatter 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 Ks. He didn't look as electric as he normally did. Bubba Chandler also would walk us 6 times with 6 strikeouts, but wouldn't give up a hit. It would take until Barco came in for the Reds to finally get off the schneid in terms of hits, but they were taking their walks. I mean, they walked 8 times in that game for Game 2. And then even Braxton Ashcraft looked pretty solid for them. I mean, this Pirates, I think rotation is better than we thought. I do think the addition of O'Hearn has been very helpful in low. Both of them, I think, have done most of the damage. O'Neal Cruz has finally been hitting a little bit as well, which has been helpful. But it just felt like it was another series, Joe, against the Pirates at home. I don't know what it is. We seem to play them better on the road, and they seem to play us better on the road. But at least we got one of 2.
Yeah, I think this Pirates team has gotten better, and we talked about that a lot. Brandon Lyle's playing awesome. Ryan O'Hearn is just a big, big bat in that lineup. And they have some Reds killers. I mean, Brian Reynolds just comes to mind, who's how much he's done in the past and even this series. But it's tough. I think kind of to go through my notes for the series, I feel like the overarching theme is still our losses this year up to this point, not to spoil anything for later, are to Garrett Crochet. It is to Bubba Chandler, who did not pitch all that terribly. He gave up 1 run in 4 1/3 innings, and Paul Skeens. And even though Bubba Chandler isn't on the same level as Crochet or Skeens yet, there's a lot of potential there, and the Pirates love him, and they think he's going to be really, really good. So
I agree.
we're doing the same thing that we maybe had issues with last year, Rob, where it's maybe struggling against good pitchers and good teams at different times. We did have a 500 record against teams above 500 last year, but I think it really does come down to when these like star pitchers are going up, like we just have struggles, and that is something I think we need to figure out this year before we get to the postseason, because obviously when we get to the postseason, we're going to be playing the Garrett Crochets, the Paul Skeens, the Bubba Chandler. So that was my overarching theme. Good for Chase Burns to get that first career win in this series. I do want to get to a point where Brandon Williamson is in AAA. I know we'll talk more about Nick Lodolo here in a little bit, which is a frustrating situation, but I want him to have like a couple games under his belt. He's still coming back from so much in the past that he has dealt with. I want him to go to AAA. I think that really did hurt them in Game 2 and hurt him too. I want him to go down and work on some stuff. Pierce Johnson was bad again this series. I still have faith he's going to be a good pitcher for us, but it has not been overall the greatest experience so far. He's been a guy who's been, like we said, he spams the curveballs, and sometimes he hangs them, especially in this colder weather, or at least like before it's really warm in the summer. And the bats are cold. I think this is we've only scored more than 5 or more runs in 2 games this year. And with some of the ERAs in the bullpen, Rob, like I said, Pierce Johnson, even Emilio Pagan, it is fortunate that we are where we are after the Ranger series. But I think I noticed the bats kind of going cold in the Pirate series, and then there was a little bit of a heat up against the Rangers. We'll talk about in a little bit. But even Sal's average is coming down, and it had to come down at some point. But Sal's average is coming down, and it feels like in this series specifically, there was no one else to kind of like raise them up, if that makes sense. There was no, there was no one else on the team with a respectable batting average besides Dane Myers at that point, and everyone else, is probably 30 to 40 points below where I expect them to be at the minimum. So even like Elly after this week is like 244. He was at like 200 in the middle of the Pirate series, and if Sal, your rookie's going to be leading you, when he starts struggling, which again his average is coming down and it should, but like, you need these veterans to help step up, and they just haven't done it, especially at this point of the series. But even in large part, even if we talk through the whole week, I think they haven't really come up and done what they should do for how much we put into this offense. So you mentioned at the top of the question today, it's very fortunate to be as lucky as we are, even after this series to the Pirates. But I think a lot of credit goes to the pitching. A lot of credit goes to the bullpen guys, that are pitching well. And I think it's it sucks that we can't beat those top end starters or the guys who have that potential to be top end starters. But that's something that I'll be watching all the year long. How are we going to fare against these good pitchers? Should I just, not even count us as winning those games, or should we show some growth or whatever we're going to have going forward? So, or will the lineup change too, Rob? I think there's a lot of lineup changes. We're going to talk, I'm sure, about that in the Rangers series with different things that Tito has done and some players who have stepped up and not. But that's what I took away is the bats are cold. It's fortunate that we are where we are. We are where we are now with everything going on, and yeah, just you know, thanks to Chase Burns for the first win, and I think that hopefully we can bounce back against the Pirates and not have this mental block against a team that is better but not really all that great.
It is very strange. This team plays poorly against the Brewers and the Pirates, plays well against the Cardinals and the Cubs. I don't know why it is that way, but it is. I will say as well, by the way, the Pirates did sweep the Baltimore Orioles, a team that was consistently ranked in the top 10 in their first home series. This Pirates team is playing, I think, way above everybody's expectations right now. I think they're getting carried by a couple really good hitters right now, and Marcelo Zuna specifically has been atrocious, so I'm sure he'll pick it up a little bit too. I mean, this Pirates team is better for sure. They brought up Connor Griffin because I think Triolo got hurt, but I don't know if they could continue watching Jared Triolo honestly play shortstop when you have a 19-year-old potential phenom down there. But he struggled a little bit in his first series after getting the first big hit. So I will say I think this Pirates team is maybe even a little bit better than I thought they would be, mostly just because I think their pitching is. It's not better than ours, but they're pretty close, honestly, Joe. If Bubba Chandler kind of figures out how to throw strikes, I'll be interested to see how they do against better lineups, because I think the Orioles lineup, Joe, is actually very similar to the Reds, where there's a lot of expectations, they have a lot of potential, but their guys maybe haven't lived up to it as much over the last 2 years. They're a team that's, I think, pretty solid, but we are currently, not that it matters that much, we're only 9 games in, but we are currently in the wild card spot with the Pirates. So that just shows you how well that they have played. Let's get into the Rangers series, because I think we have a lot more thoughts on the team overall. The Reds played a very good first game here, started by Brady Singer, who we know is pitching through that blister, but 5 innings, scattered 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 Ks. He looked awesome. Sam Mole has continued to come in and pitch for his life and been amazing. Graham Ashcraft would give up a run. He's going to do that sometimes despite his stuff looking, I think, as good as it literally ever has. Tony Santillan and Pagan would shut him down, though, in the 8th and the 9th. But the big news was, Joe, Spencer Steer finally got off the schneid. Tyler Stevenson also finally got off the schneid. Matt McLean was leading off because they were giving TJ Friedel a day off. He got 2 hits. Elly had 2 hits. Suarez had 2 hits. And even Ke'Bryan Hayes got off the schneid with 2 hits. Big stuff there for them. We would win 5-3 thanks to a 2-run home run by Tyler Stevenson off of Chris Martin in the 9th inning. The Rangers would pitch well, but the Reds would get to Mackenzie Gore pretty early on. He still had his 9 Ks, but a home run from Elly on the right side, and that home run that I was talking about for Spencer Steer as well really helped this team get over the hump and get them to 4-3 in a very big win that would set the tone for the rest of the weekend as the Reds pitching. I watched a video just this morning, Joe, where Skip Schumacher said those guys are pretty good pitchers, and he talked specifically about Chase Burns, who pitched the Sunday game, the Easter Day game here in just a minute, Joe. But Matt McLean would have another 2 hits here, Joe, in the second game. Spencer Steer with another hit as well, but it would be Elly De La Cruz and Sal Stewart who would help get the Reds going really in that very first inning. Nothing else would happen. The Reds would win 2-0 as Rhett Lowder was absolutely outstanding. Joe, he's getting weak contact. We're going to talk a lot about him and Chase Burns here in a minute, but 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts for Rhett Lowder, lowering his ERA to a 1.64. I know you're going to have those stats for his first 8 starts. Rhett Lowder looks like the real deal in a pretty big way. Graham Ashcraft, Tony Santillan, and Pagan, I think that's a lot of the way the 7th, 8th, and 9th will look for us going forward. Looked really solid. Pagan, yes, he would get the bases loaded, but he would pitch his way out of it. Or maybe it wasn't bases loaded, but it was a hit and two walks. But he would pitch his way out of it, and the Reds would end up winning against, I think, one of the best starts for Kumar Rocker that they've seen from him for the Rangers as well. The Sunday game, Joe, was I think, an outstanding matchup between Jack Leiter, who looked amazing, and Chase Burns. But even the Rangers guys, I was watching the highlights again last night. I was doing Easter stuff, so I was all over the place. Getting to watch the game on my phone when I could. When I was driving, listening on the radio. But even the Rangers guys were like, "Look, Jack Leiter's pitching a great game, but Chase Burns may be unhittable." And hearing that in your second start of the season, Joe, for me at least, that is about all you can really ask for. He went 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run. We'll talk about that in a second. But only 1 walk to 9 strikeouts, Joe. He's got a 14 Ks to 1 walk ratio, which is pretty outstanding. Pierce Johnson would look a little bit better. Sam Moll would clean it up for him. Connor Phillips as well. And then Brock Burke came in for the save, Joe, in the 2-0 win in this game. I didn't know that there are very few lefties in baseball that can throw 100. I did not know. I'm sorry that I was disrespecting your game, Brock Burke, because that was electric, Joe. He had been 0 for 13 in save attempts before then. The Reds also, by the way, started stealing some bases in this game. TJ Friedel would get off the schneid as well. He finally got a hit. He's been, I think, making good contact, but there's an article by Charlie Goldsmith where he said he needs to, speed up his swing a little bit. Elly would have 2 hits, including a monster one that would obviously win them the game, scoring Matt McLean from second on his only time reaching base. Eugenio Suarez would also have an RBI single, which looked really solid. Steer had a hit, and guess who finally got really off the schneid, Joe? It was Noel V. Marte. He finally got his first hit of the season, and Will Benson, by the way, would come off the bench, get 2 hits. Key Brian Hayes as well. The Reds would scatter 9 hits. Their biggest issue was hits with runners in scoring position in this series, Joe, but they would sweep the Texas Rangers in their home opening series, and I think against a pretty good Rangers team. I mean, top to bottom, they've got a pretty solid lineup. Their pitching looked, I thought, very good. I think Jack Leiter looked awesome. I think Kumar Rocker looked great, and I mean, Mackenzie Gore is their number 2 for a reason. These rotations are all starting to look pretty similar, where they're getting pretty deep here, but none may be as deep as ours currently, Joe, because I don't know what to say, but dude, those young guys were getting it done all weekend long, and we'll dive into some of the stats with them, but what were your thoughts of this Rangers series?
Yeah, it was a very good series. And as you mentioned, Rob, Rangers are a team, I think, pre the series, but last week I said they are a team that very similar to us. They're probably going to be 83 to 88 win range, maybe a little bit more, could be, but I think it's kind of where they are after a down last year. This was a very good series win, especially bouncing back from that Rangers series. And I do think that, the Reds did face a lower level of pitcher than they did against the Pirates with Skeens, and I think Chandler's at least potential. Mackenzie Gore is great. We talked about how he really didn't deserve the All-Star game last year. There were some other guys that we wanted to push for some reasons, maybe because we're a little bit biased for the Reds, but also the stats would back it up. But that is, I think it's worth noting that they did beat a good team. Singer, thank you for continuing to eat innings for us. I know his ERA isn't good right now, and Reds fans may not like that, but he is just so valuable right now for just going into games and even getting 4 to 5 innings is the minimum that we need right now, and he's doing it, and I appreciate that. Terry Francona talked about in that first game, Stevenson's clutch home run, that all we wanted him to do was put the ball in the air, and the fact that it was a home run was great, so that's good. Rhett Lowder, awesome game too. To start off, Rob, I know you feel the same way, but there are a lot of people out there who slander Rhett Lowder, and it is not cool. It's the same thing that we've seen with everything else with the Andrew Abbott. The love of power pitchers is so astronomically messed up right now. I get it. I love power pitchers too, but the fact that people can't appreciate guys who can locate their pitches and sometimes have good stuff too, but people just love the power pitcher stuff, and it's so infuriating that guys like Rhett Lowder and Andrew Abbott get killed for it, which I appreciate having them. And let us to keep them, and you guys can go get everyone else, because he's done it incredible. And Yeah, we do have some power pitchers on the staff. We do have some guys who have some electric stuff, but I like mixing it up. So you mentioned the stats about his first 8 career starts: 1.30 ERA over those 8 career starts. Lowest spot for a Red since 1913. It is the fifth lowest mark by an MLB pitcher through their first 8 career starts since 1961,
Okay.
and fifth career scoreless start of at least 5 innings is tied with Fernando Valenzuela for the most through the first 8 starts of someone's career since 1900. So those are some pretty good conversations to have, pretty good names to be around. I hate the slander. I hate people who do it. I hate people who just look at a spreadsheet instead of watching the games. Just watch the games. The dude has the ball on a string. It is so fun to watch. He's been awesome. Rob, give you credit for heating up Spencer Steer. We posted the clip of last week's episode. You saying you believe in him. We had some family members follow the show. Thank you guys for following. He is heating up in a good way. That's something we definitely need. And then for game three, we had the Suarez and Elly RBI. So at least like the batting averages aren't quite there. We want to see him with those guys, or maybe the power, but they're having the clutch hits, which we need, and another Chase Burns good start. So Rob, I talked about, if we are to reach the potential that we talked about, like for before the injuries, I said like 88 wins. You said like above 90, and then you're down to 88 wins before after the 100 Green injury. And I'm down to like 84. If they are going to reach that, I said this a couple weeks ago, it takes Chase Burns being an ace. It takes Rhett Lowder being very, very good. And so far, we've gotten exactly what we needed from him. So that is the big thing. We only gave up 4 runs all series, so credit to the bullpen as well for helping with that. But that's it. Like you said, that's a pretty good lineup. So to only give up 4 runs is awesome. Now we just need the offense to kind of level it out a little bit so that the pitching doesn't have to have the stress on them. A lot like last year where the pitching had to be great because we just could never score runs. So if they could do that, that'd be great because we're currently batting 209, which is bad. So that'd be good to fix that.
Yeah, and that's something that I think we will talk about here shortly. But what I will say is I think the Reds have been, I think surprisingly good for a lot of people. And I will say too, by the way, you know, they are. I think they're doing things that I think they can do consistently, and that's what I think is important, right? It's not like Rhett Lowder is doing anything we haven't seen him do yet. Chase Burns is, I think, actually a little bit more confident and under control than he was last season. That is a huge step forward for him. They are going to have bad games, right? I can't imagine that they're both going to just be sitting there with like 1.5 ERAs throughout most of the season. They'll have games where guys kind of figure them out, or bad matchups potentially against them. I really thought this Rangers team might be that, but they're pitching really well, and I want to give the catchers credit too. Trevino struggled a little early on, but this season, but he really, I think, brought it back. And Stevenson, they've been calling very good games in my opinion, Joe. And overall, the scope, going 4-2 this week is awesome. And if you had told me, hey, they're gonna sweep, I figured it would definitely be the Pirates. They went on the road and did it to the Rangers instead. So, I'm not going to really complain too much about that, Joe. But what I will say is they are living on the edge. And I've got a lot of stats to back this up. The pitching and the hitting have been extremely clutch. Even though our batting average against or with runners in scoring position is the lowest in baseball, by the way. The Colorado Rockies, I believe, this is a stat. I cannot remember who posted this, but somebody posted this. They are second, and we're like 30 points behind them or something like that right now. It does not help when you go a combined 4 for 24, against the Rangers in those last 2 games, and against the Pirates it was pretty bad, 0 for 10 in Game 2 against the Pirates. That'll generally kill you, but overall, right? They've been scattering hits. Like their batting average isn't horrendous. But pitching and hitting, like the clutch factor has been there, and that's what's keeping them in these games, right? They're 5th in ERA overall, Joe, for the MLB, which is crazy, at least when I checked last night. They are the only team now that I've seen that do not have an error in 2026, which is pretty incredible. Everybody has looked very smooth. This is what they said: pitching and defense wins championships. They are backing that up with the way they're playing right now. Abbott, Lowder, and Burns have all been outstanding. Singer has been exactly what we want him to be, right, Joe? I mean, this is Singer's going to give up 2 or 3 runs a game, sometimes 4. But he's consistently going to keep you in the game. Whatever the team needs in the game is what he'll do. If the Reds are up 3-0, he's going to give up 2. If the Reds are up 4-1, he's going to give up 3. That's just how it goes. Williamson, again, I think he's shaking off the rust. We didn't expect him to have to actually start these games. I think he's going to be okay. And I will be honest, Joe, I know you were talking a little bit about the bullpen there, but for the most part, the bullpen's actually been pretty solid, other than Pierce Johnson and Emilio Pagan. You like to talk about ERAs. Jose Franco with a 0 ERA. Let me see here. Brock Burke with a 0. Tony Santillan with a 0. Connor Phillips with a 3.6. And Sam Moll with a 0. Those are 5 guys. And not even, we expected Pierce Johnson and Emilio Pagan to be some of your best. And I will give Emilio Pagan this. While he has struggled in a couple games, realistically only in 1 game, he gave up 4 runs in a non-save situation, and he blew the 1 save with a solo home run. He's still 3 for 4 in actual save opportunities, and I believe that he's just going to get better. This bullpen is starting to line up really well, and Caleb Ferguson seems like he's coming back next week based on everything, so I'll be interested to see what they're going to do. Are they going to run 3 lefties? They might. They might. I think Jose Franco may just get sent down and they'll just run 3 lefties and be fine with it. But, the pitching has been outstanding. The hitting is what has to get better. And that's what I want to talk about here. We're 23rd in batting average, 24th in OBP, and 25th in slugging percentage. I really do believe the guys are going to come around, Joe. But, what's sad is it's not like it's been atrocious. It feels like it's been okay. What I thought was weird was I thought our on-base percentage would be better because Sal Stewart is 8 walks to 6 strikeouts. TJ Friedl, even though he hasn't been hitting for average yet, he has walked 7 times to his 11 strikeouts, to his credit. Even Matt McClain has walked 6 times so far this year, Joe. I think you and I would be generally very happy with those ratios throughout most of this season. So I would love to get your thoughts on all of that. But, look, the team has been... They've been able to win the close ones, something we couldn't do last year, and that's generally the sign of a good team. Now they need to just go out and get the hitting to kind of match up a little bit more with the pitching. Like, just be middle of the MLB. 15th would be, I think, fantastic for most of these stats. And this team will, I think, continue to win clutch games, and if they play the best defense in baseball, then that may be the thing that's really going to push them over the edge. Because like you've said, right, 83 wins to, 84-ish to 88 wins, I think makes sense. If this team continues to win these close games, Joe, and they'll lose some for sure, right, but if they continue to win these close games, there's a chance that they can sneak up into that 90 range, especially once Hunter Green comes back, and if everybody else is pitching as well as they can. I tweeted about this. I think this could be a historic Reds starting pitching rotation, Joe. Especially when Hunter Green or Lodolo come back. I don't know what they're going to do. I genuinely have no idea what they're going to do. Because right now, do you move Singer to the bullpen? I don't even know if you can do that. Because you're not getting rid of, Lowder. You're not getting rid of Burns. And you're obviously not getting rid of Abbott. So then it just comes down to, do they run 6? What do they necessarily do? Are they just managing innings for the young guys? I really do not know, Joe. But we are blessed with really good pitching. It is actually insane watching them win games 2-0 as consistently as they are.
Yeah, it's been incredible. You mentioned the bullpen. Yeah, it's really just 2 guys struggling, and I think those guys will figure it out. It's just weird that your closer and your 7th inning guy-ish, whatever you want to call Pierce Johnson, are the 2 that are struggling. Thankfully, Tony is holding it down as the guy who has 3 holds so far on the season. I do think they'll run 3 lefties, Rob, because Terry's made some comments like, I don't care what hand they pitch with or what arm they pitch with. I just want the best pitchers, and it'll give them better matchup things too. I think specifically if we get into tight games where you got to go right, left, or something, you got to throw in a lefty while the righties are up there. They can do some pretty cool things with this bullpen if they do have that. And
I agree.
Jose Franco obviously only has 1 appearance, so they're obviously not pitching him in anything that has anything to do with any sort of leverage. They're saving him, and that's fine. So I think they'll go with those 3 lefties. Starting pitching is incredible. I don't think that we'll have to make a decision on people for a long time. Obviously, former Gamehouse employee Zach Presnell has said that he's writing for Cincinnati Reds Sports Illustrated right now. He said that
Congrats, dude.
they're going to need he's still throwing Lowder is right now with the Pilo ball, which is the one without the seams. They are expecting one or two rehab starts. They haven't really scheduled those out. So Lowder might be coming back soon. Easy move, obviously, is Williamson goes down. But then I think like you said, Rob, is like when Hunter Green comes back. With the way our injury history is, I assume someone will be hurt at that point. Just one of the pitchers. But it's good to have that depth. That's why we have this depth. This is why I think this is such a good, well-built team, and I'm glad we didn't trade Brady Singer, as well as I think Rhett Lowder and Chase Burns have done, and they will struggle coming up, I think. But this still exceeds expectations for what people have thought, with the below 1 ERA for Chase Burns, Rhett Lowder just still killing it after everyone dropped him down the prospect rankings for no good reason. Just crazy. So yeah, I think the pitching's awesome. I think the bullpen is, outside of those two guys, has been really, really good, and those guys will figure it out. And then for the hitting, it is still very frustrating, I think, for this Reds team. Sal Stewart is covering up a lot of issues right now, even though he is like the last two series, the batting average is coming down. And we knew it was coming down, but it is coming down. And again, you just want to see other guys step up. And the Ranger series, we did see some guys step up, but they're still well away from where we need them to be. It's not just like, obviously Elly's hitting 243. He's in the everyday lineup. He's not hitting up to his potential yet. I do like the extra power, especially from the right-handed side of the plate that he is showing. That is going to be huge this year. And Suarez, obviously, giving some home runs to this lineup. And McLean, obviously been up and down. I want to see him level it out. Started off hot, then went down. Now he's kind of coming back up. But there are some big holes in this lineup right now that we have to figure out. And we'll talk about Marte later, Rob. TJ Friedel's getting a lot of hate on Twitter these days.
Silly.
And it's, I do want him to play better. But, and again, the same thing I said for Matt McLean at the start of the season. I'm going to give these guys 2 to 3 full weeks before I really start saying, like, let's make some big changes. The same thing goes for Friedel. Brian Hayes is still batting pretty low. Tyler Stevenson had some big hits, but he's still very 143 batting average. So it's cool that Sal Stewart is stepping up. We do need guys to step up even more around him, like the Genos and the McLeans and all that. But we also need some of these guys to not be complete holes in the lineup. And I'm not saying they are right now, but I don't think they're going to be that. I think these guys will figure it out and get more to a common base of, Brian Hayes will get his average up to the 220 or whatever we need him to get. And Tyler Stevenson, I expect to get up to 240, 250 with the power he has. So that's what I think is the easy thing for other teams, is there's so many holes in our lineup right now that I don't think are going to be there by the end of the year. So we have to fix that up. We have to make sure things are better, because I really do think that this lineup is pretty solid 1 through 9. And I think it's, something that we've struggled with. We've struggled with having consistency with these young guys. We've struggled with having these guys, I think, show up in big moments. Spencer Steer did last year, and we need these guys to hit with runners in scoring position this year. But it is frustrating, I think, how poorly they are playing, because even if with a bad week or two, some of these averages are just something you should almost never see on a baseball field. So that's something we want to clean up, and they will clean up. And I think it might be some lineup changes coming up here, whether that is the Friedel stuff everyone's talking, whether it is, the Marte we'll talk a little bit, so I won't say too much about that. But whether it is, moving people in and out of the lineup that on different matchups, that's something we'll have to talk about, Rob, because I think this is the week, specifically with the schedule, where I know we sometimes struggle with teams we shouldn't struggle with. We need to do well this week. And I'm not just saying, like, win games. If we win all the games 1-0 this week, I will still have some issues with our offense, and something we need to clean up. We need to be hitting these pitchers. And yes, there are some guys with some, I think, obviously play the Marlins. We'll talk about them. They have some pitchers with some potential. We still need to hit these teams. We still need to do really well. And this is the part of the schedule we need to take advantage of. And the offense is just not carrying any semblance of the weight that they should be carrying.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you look at it, right, like, TJ Friedel's not going to hit 100 this year, right? He is a guy who has shown that year in and year out. Yes, he's slowing down maybe a little bit. I get it, but if I'm gonna have a hill to die on, when he is healthy, 138 games, 152 games in 23 and 25, he's a 265 batting average kind of guy. He was injured in 2024. He only hit 226, and in 2022 he just had limited time to play, so he was batting 240. You're generally gonna see this guy get on, or hit 1 out of every 4. He's gonna bring his batting average back up. I can pretty much guarantee it. That is a hill I'd be willing to die on. He's an on-base percentage guy, by the way, too, Joe. He walks a pretty solid amount for the amount of bats he has. He walked 81 times to 115 strikeouts last season, and he's kind of keeping that same margin. So it's really just the hitting that needs to come back, right? Matt McLain is continuing to kind of, be, I would say, a little streaky, but he's starting to find it a little bit more. He's walking already way more than I think either of us expected him to, Joe. This is something that I think was kind of one of our big bugaboos about him last season as well. He's walking, I think, already at a higher pace. Elly's going to hit better. He's already hitting well. Brian Hayes is not going to bat 130. I know everybody likes to get upset with him, but he's been one of the most unlucky hitters in baseball so far this season. I'm still seeing him really do very well. I think you guys would all agree. A guy who has struck out one time, by the way, in 23 at-bats is something that you want. I mean, the Reds have two guys on their team who have more walks than strikeouts. It's Brian Hayes with 2, but still, and Sal Stewart with 8 over his 6 strikeouts. Like, you'll take that all day long. Noelvi Marte is not going to go 1 for 12 very often. Like, they're all just kind of in their weird own little slumps, and they're all going to start kind of coming out of it. Hopefully not at the same time necessarily. Hopefully it'll be, all of them playing together and going through ups and downs, picking each other up throughout the season. But even those who are worried about Sal Stewart, like, the guy's still hitting the crap out of the ball. It's just happened to go right at people right now. He's been doing that a lot more as well. He's just not going to get as lucky. But if you tell me that this kid's batting 280 to 300 by the end of the season, I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever. I think this offense is going to bounce back, is my point, in a very big way. I mean, even Nathaniel Lowe has come on and had a couple really big hits, including one in this series. So I'm not personally that worried yet. I think you needed guys to get that first one, right? You got, in this series alone, you got Tyler Stevenson, Spencer Steer, and who else was it? And Noelvi Marte and Brian Hayes. Like, all of them were really needing some hits. They got some in this series, and I think that was a really big deal. Okay, we'll talk more about Noelvi Marte and them here in a second. Let's get into the injury update. We talked about Lodolo, right? With Lodolo, he was 40 pitches into what looked like an excellent start down there in Daytona. He was just carving guys up. The blister came back. Joe, the exact words are the starting the staff doesn't want me to change the way that I'm pitching. I am at a point where if you are unable to play, I don't really care what your opinion is on your slider. You can find another slider grip. Like, you can, right? You can change your grip a little bit. I know that's what makes him as devastating as he is, but if you're never able to pitch, it doesn't matter, right? Like, it's kind of one of those, how do you figure this out? He is going to be out an extended period of time. Probably longer than almost any other blister in history, right? Like, of baseball. He's probably going to be out, I would assume, all of April, because they're going to make sure that thing is fully 100% healed, and they're going to probably be doing extensive work on trying to figure out how to keep that specific finger from blistering up. Again, I will offer, they said they've tried everything. Like I said, I know somebody who takes sweating medication that makes them so they do not sweat pretty much at all. If sweating is the big issue, take some freaking sweating medication so you don't sweat as much. I know it's going to make him a lot more dehydrated and stuff, so maybe that'll create other problems, but give that a try. Do something like that, because Nick Lodolo, you're an awesome pitcher. You are, I think, you could be a perennial all-star if you were healthy, and I know that you know this. I'm not going to totally crap on him, but I just, there's got to come, when push comes to shove, right, is the whole adage, Joe. You have to be available to be able to pitch. And so, for Reds fans, it's frustrating. It's probably 10 times more frustrating for him, right, that this issue just continues to happen. I don't know what they're going to do, Joe. I really don't. Like, maybe they can petition the MLB to let him have, like, one very small Band-Aid or something like that on his finger so that he can actually pitch. I don't know, like one that's not going to give him any extra grip necessarily, but it's going to make it so that his finger isn't, getting, bludgeoned every time that he throws. There just has to be something that's going to be done. Otherwise, Joe, I'm at the point where I'm worried that we will see Nick Lodolo for like all of 10 starts a season at this point, because the blister will just keep coming up. I mean, this is a problem now for many, many years in a row. And there's got to be some way to figure this out because otherwise, again, he's just going to be a guy who will never really truly have a career like he should, even though he's extremely talented.
Yeah, I think it's, getting to that point where it's such an issue that changing the grip has to be in consideration. He has said that he has tried every way to fix this issue besides changing the grip on the slider. So I'm like you said, medication. I'm sure he's tried medication. I'm sure he's tried everything. There's got to be something he can do to change the grip and not lose that much. And if not, then yeah, there has to be something that's considered where maybe you do move to the bullpen, dude, because it happened on the 40th pitch. So
Yeah.
maybe you need to throw less pitches. I don't know. That's something to figure out. For Frank Kona, it seems like that he's saying that like we want to help him get back, but like he has to figure it out for himself. And I would say it's okay to be frustrated. I'm sure he's extremely frustrated with the situation as well. You want to be your best. You want to throw the slider the way that gets you to the point where you are in your career that he is at. But we need him available. I'm hoping they take it slow right now with the
Mm-hmm.
schedule we have and also with the pitchers that we do have. And yeah, it might take a couple rehab starts and just seeing what's going to be there. But I appreciate that he's willing to try anything. I appreciate that he is hard headed enough to be like, I don't want to change the grip of my slider. But at a certain point, I think this is the point where it's like, okay, dude, like a couple years ago it was frustrating. Then it got more mildly frustrating this year, and it's even to a different point now after it reoccurs. So now it might be change the grip on the slider. It might be something else. They haven't really gone into detail about everything they've tried to fix it, but it seems like both Tito and him are saying they've tried almost everything besides changing the grip, and that's what sucks. Either change the grip or go to the bullpen and be an awesome bullpen pitcher for us because we do need that. But then it'll put us at 4 lefties, which would be kind of funny. But
There are
no,
teams
this
apparently
is
out there who have none, by the way. I did not know this, but I think it's the Diamondbacks specifically have zero lefties in their bullpen, which is astounding. So,
yeah. So it's frustrating. It's something I want him to get fixed. And it just can't go on. Like this is happening too much. Our young guys get hurt too much. That goes for Green, that goes for Lowe, that goes for Abbott too. Abbott showed a lot of growth last year, getting through the whole season and pitching down the stretch, but we saw his arm fatigue the first couple of years of his career. So the Reds did a great thing, knowing their limitations, making sure they got these young pitchers up here in Burns and Lowder, and they have the depth in the rotation. They have the deepest rotation in baseball. That is, I think, not even up for debate now with how Burns and Lowder are pitching. But we can't sit here and just wait around for Nickelodeon all the time. So the team will move on. The team will keep on playing games, and if he can be a part of it, that'd be great. I really do hope there's a solution that doesn't involve him changing the grip on his slider. It just doesn't feel like that's out there. It doesn't at this point. So we'll see.
it's a bummer. It is a bummer. And yeah, obviously we wish you all the best, Nick Ladola, as you figure this out. But maybe it is a bullpen thing. Maybe he just becomes one of the most devastating bullpen arms in baseball. Which would suck because I think he's very much built to be a starter. I think he's a guy that can get you 10 strikeouts a game and go 6 innings pretty regularly. So very sad to see, but hopefully he will figure it out. Like you said, we got to keep moving on, and we'll continue to update you guys as we hear more. The other one was Friedel. Somebody mentioned something. I think I heard it maybe on the radio broadcast that maybe Friedel was dealing with some sort of injury. I have not heard anything else or seen anything else. I was just throwing this out there to you, Joe, if maybe you had heard something as well. But, I mean, knock on wood, otherwise, we're pretty healthy right now. I don't know, thank God, because this has been so many years of health. I know, obviously, Hunter Green's already gone. We talked about, Ferguson is expected to come back. But otherwise, I mean, I don't know anything else. This was the only one that I had heard an inkling of.
No, I haven't heard anything too, and I kind of like Googled it because, again, his performance has not been great, but it does seem like there's something wrong in a different way. Now it's just such a big drop off in so many different categories. If you look at the advanced stats of, the swing speed and everything else, and that's what you were referencing with Charlie Goldsmith saying he needs to swing the bat more, he needs to barrel the ball more. I haven't seen anything. It does not look like he is 100%, but I couldn't put a finger on what it was, and there was no reports I saw. So yeah, hopefully he just gets better by playing these next couple weeks and kind of gets Reds fans to shut up. I'm hoping that's the case. But yeah, I mean there is a decline. He's 30 years old. I'm not saying he's totally should be declined by now, but the type of player he is, there's going to be some natural decline, and I'm hoping he figures it out, gets back to that, like you said earlier, Rob, where it's no injury, and maybe batting 260 and getting on base because he still has one of the best walk percentages in the league. So
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine, honestly. I really do believe it because I still think he's put the ball in play pretty well, honestly. I think he's just kind of pushing himself and getting maybe even a little frustrated that he's losing that center field job potentially over time. I mean, I didn't think center field was going to be a potential issue for us, Joe, moving forward, but I mean, there's very much a chance that we will need a center fielder come trade deadline if TJ Friedel cannot figure it out. So, um, yeah, I mean, he looks fine for the most part to me. I mean, he made that outstanding catch over there in left field, which, by the way, why were the Rangers warning tracks and everything so incredibly slippery? Like, all of our players were slipping on them. Very weird to see. I'm glad nobody got hurt, but we'll look more into Friedel as we go on. But I do think he's going to be fine. I mean, it's another guy that you look at the back of their baseball card, right? That's always what they talk about and they're gonna figure it out. Generally you don't see a decline in most players until about 32. So it would be really weird to see him falling off this quickly. Generally, they say that like the prime of a baseball player is 26 to 32. It's around those 6 years. So I can't imagine that Friedel is getting that much worse right now. I think that there's just something else that's going on for him. Um, because even Francona said he was like his spring was outstanding. He's like he did everything well, everything else was fine. So he just thinks he's just in a bit of a rut, and he'll figure it out. It's 30 at bats. I'm not going to worry about it. He's going to have like 500 at bats this season, so we'll worry about it maybe at bat 100 is when I'll really start to actually worry about that, which is in about 2 weeks, like you said, Joe. So there you go. Let's talk Noelvi Marte before we get into the Marlins Angels. Why is he not playing? And this was actually a request, Joe, for the show specifically. I want to make sure I read the text specifically from my guy, Justin Clemens here. Please do a deep dive on why Tito refuses to play Noelvi Marte against righties. He's better against righties. 4 or 5 exclamation points. It's funny because Charlie Goldsmith also wrote about this. Again, love this guy. I think he's doing a great job reporting. So you guys are going to hear us talk about him a lot. But basically, Tito was saying, like, yeah, it's weird that he has, those other splits, but he's got to kind of figure out how to hit lefties. Because I think they are very hell-bent on playing Will Benson this year, Joe. I mean, we knew that he was going to be in the mix this year. I did not expect him to be doing what he is doing right now, where, I mean, Will Benson has 5 more at-bats than Noelvi Marte. Which is surprising to me. He's played in 2 more games than Noelvi as well. Like, you're going to generally face more righties than lefties. I am shocked at this point. I don't really know how else to say it because I just don't know what else they're doing. I don't know what he's done wrong. Like, I know, like, he just hasn't been able to find a groove. Everybody's like, oh, he was, 1 or 0 for 10 or whatever. Okay, I mean, a lot of guys go 0 for 10. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there were plenty of Rangers hitters who had like 1 hit in the series, right? I mean, 1 for 10 or 1 for 12 even is kind of a slump that a lot of people go through. But when you're not getting consistent at bats, are they just not confident in him in left or in right field, Joe? I don't really understand why they are not playing him more. When I don't think he's shown anything, at least to my knowledge, that would make me feel like he shouldn't be getting played. I mean, this kid hits at every level. He has hit consistently pretty much every time that he's not been worried about a PED thing. This just feels strange to me. Like, I'm really baffled because last year in 339 at-bats when he was healthy, 89 hits, 17 doubles, 2 triples, 14 home runs, 51 RBIs, 85 strikeouts to 16 walks, which is not great, but whatever. 263 batting average for 748 OPS. I mean, that's pretty much the same OPS that Elly De La Cruz has right now. I really, Joe, I am baffled at this point. I don't get it. They know he hits righties better. Like, Terry literally full-on acknowledged it. Tito did. I would love to hear your opinion on this, because this is wild to me that he is just not getting played, period. And if he's not getting played, why is he even here?
Yeah, I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to hypothesize a little bit here. There was a report that they had to have a talk with Marte during spring training and kind of say, "Hey, man, you need to get going." Um, this is, I think Charlie talked about it at some point,
Okay.
but I'm wondering if they did. I don't want to criticize someone's work ethic without knowing, but I'm wondering if maybe that's an issue where it's like he did not come to spring training ready. His spring started off very, very slow, and he did rebound a decent amount, but it wasn't great. And I'm wondering if they're trying to send a message in that way. Now, does that mean he should be starting against lefties and not righties when he's better against righties? I don't know. But I wonder if that has anything to do with it, whether they're trying to phase him out, trying to put Benson as the everyday guy more. I mean, it seems like he's playing more, right? So um, that's what makes me kind of wonder about things was just that one report and how the spring was tough for him and people did have concerns. Um, the other thing I've kind of thought about is Will Benson against righties. Historically, not that great. I mean, it's not something that you would bench a guy that I think has a lot of potential like Marte, right? It's 231 batting average against right-handed
Mm-hmm.
starters. Overall, it's 237 against righties in his career with a slugging percentage of 443. And you look at Marte's career against righties, it's 258 against righties with a 434 slugging percentages. So even the slugging percentages are right there. It's not like he has that much more power than him. So for me, that's what's kind of crazy is Benson this year is very hot against righties, and maybe they're just playing the hot hand. Like to be honest, I think that could be it. He's batting against right-handed starters. He's batting 286. 333 on base and 500 slugging. Against right-handers overall, he's 235, 278 on base percentage and 412 slugging percentage, which is better than Marte right now. So I'm wondering if maybe they're playing the hot hand for the time being. We all know Will Benson. This is not going to keep up where he hits 286 against right-handed starters. I don't think that's any way in heck it's going to be keeping up that way. Basically, everything we've seen in the last 3 years. Maybe he's hot for 3 or 4 months, and that's great. But that's about as farthest I can see it. That's the only thing I can say is he is hitting right-handed starters better than Marte is this year, but he's also been giving a lot more opportunity too, which does not make sense. So, and even Marte, just like I said, career against right-handed starters, 260. It's not like it's that different. I would have trusted the young guy. So I don't understand why it's going on. And all my ideas here, like again, are just me hypothesizing. Is it because Benson's hot against right-handed starters? Is it because Marte, they just want to send a message and his work ethic wasn't there? Do they not like his approach at the plate or something? Is that part of the conversation they had in spring? That's the only thing I could think of because that changes everything, right? We thought Marte was the everyday starting right fielder no matter what. And maybe he would get benched against left-handed starters at certain points, but like not like every day. Not every time they faced a lefty starter. I didn't think that was in the equation. So that changes things. That makes some of the roster decisions a little bit more interesting. I mean, you get Dane Myers to hit the lefties, obviously on the bench. That was something that was they just took his, they took his Bible, but we were like, Dane Myers is here. Are you sure he's on the team? And they thought it was like the most sure thing ever. So, yeah, I don't understand exactly to answer Justin's question here. I don't really understand. Those are just my theories. Maybe it was the spring training meeting. Maybe it was Benson just hitting right-handed starters better. But that's kind of weak in my opinion.
I mean, he's batting 333 on balls put in play. He is hitting the crap out of the ball in terms of Benson. Benson really is only about 2.5, 3 years older. I think, we've seen so much of him, but he's still only 27 years old. Again, I talked about that golden range generally is 26 to 32. He should be kind of hitting that stride. Maybe this is just the coming out party, the 2023 version of Will Benson, where he is just going to play himself onto the roster. I don't really care that much, but, how do I put this? If Noelvi Marte is not going to play often, he needs to go down to AAA and they need to just bring up Rhys Hines. And it's not because I think Hines is necessarily better than Marte. I think he could be. I mean, dude, the broadcast, when their season started, and I think it was during the Pirates game they were talking about this, Rhys Hines, and we're going to kind of curtail this into a Rhys Hines conversation as well, Joe. They said that Rhys Hines has the potential to be one of the best right-handed hitters in baseball, is the way that they were saying it. If he could learn how to either hit or lay off the breaking ball away. That is incredibly high praise. I mean, I could not believe that when I heard that. I thought he was pretty good, but they really believe he could be a game wrecker. I am normally a guy who gets attached to the younger guys and wants to see them get their opportunities, Joe. And I'm talking about Marte now. I am now at a point where, because of the way the rest of this team is, I just want to win baseball games. So I've not really had a huge bugaboo about how Tito's been managing, because I feel like Tito, maybe it's just because we have so many options, but it feels like he's been managing every game like he did down the stretch in, like, September-ish time period, where he was like, when there's like an opportunity to get a run, he's putting a guy in who he thinks is going to get that job done, right? When there's an opportunity to, move a runner over, do all these other things, like, it feels like he's managing every game like a, playoff stretch type of run, which I personally have loved. And I think that's been paying off. I think that's why they've been doing so well. He's not just like, hey, this guy's going to figure it out. It's, hey, every one of these at-bats matters. Every one of these wins matters. If they really are trying to send a message to Marte, similar to how they did with Benson, but Benson, I think it was less about his work ethic, then I really and truly believe that they need to just send Marte down to AAA at this point. If he's really going to get this little... Like, if it's more about the fact that they believe that Will Benson is better against righties, Joe, than Marte is not hit lefties ever. So then what is his role on this team? Because he's not a better outfielder than any of the other guys. He's still learning the position, right? Yeah, he gives you a guy who can play third base if you absolutely need to, but who's going to play it other than Ke'Bryan Hayes and Eugenio Suarez? He's at least third on the depth chart, even at third base. At this point, you're just sitting a guy to prove a point, maybe, and at that point, you might as well just send him down to AAA and tell him, hey, get your shit together. If that's really, because I had not heard anything about this meeting. This is the first time hearing about it. Mm-hmm. I obviously believe you because you're very in touch and in tune with this. So if it is that, then they need to just send him down to AAA and really make their point and let Rhys Hines come up and play. He is absolutely smashing the ball. There's no reason to have Marte down here if he can't hit lefties anyways. Bring up the guy who most certainly can hit lefties. And if it's just going to be that Will Benson's going to play every day against righties and they're going to platoon him with Rhys Hines, who's going to probably end up taking the job at some point anyways if he continues to hit the way that he's hitting right now. I mean, that man's been hot for almost 2 straight months of baseball, Joe. And again, I'm not one to give up on Marte. I think Marte has immense potential. He was a top prospect for a very good reason, and he has shown nothing to me other than the ability to hit baseballs at a very high pace. And he's probably got, if not the best arm anymore because of Dane Myers, the second best arm on the team from right field. Then just don't play him and put him down in AAA. Let him get his regular at-bats. Let him reprove himself to you and rededicate himself, because this team's ready to win now, and now they're just wasting time in at-bats to prove a point. And that is something I do not love. I am not about that. If it's really just about, hey, we want to prove a point, send his ass down to AAA. That'll get your point across, and let Rhys Hines come up here and hit, because I'm not even that big on Rhys Hines yet. I want to see him be able to do it against major league pitching because it feels like he's always been that quadruple A guy. But we're getting to a point where I don't know that you can ignore him anymore, and I do not know how much longer you can just have Noel V. Marte sitting on the bench for no reason, Joe.
Yeah, I think for me the optimal thing is to start playing Marte every day like was playing.
Yeah.
And if he still struggles, send him down. If you still have issues with his work ethic or whatever that meeting was. I don't know if it was about work ethic, but they basically said, hey, you need to start playing better. Because remember, there was 2 weeks until spring training, and there was that report from Mark Sheldon that came out that was like, Marte hasn't locked up the everyday right fielder spot. And then his defense did get a little bit better at the end of camp. And, just give him the shot. I want to give the young guy a shot. He's shown a lot of potential. I want to respect what he did last year, all while making sure that while he plays every day for 2 weeks or whatever it is that we give him, that he, earns it. So that's what I would do. If that's not going to work, secondly, send him down. Let him play every day in AAA. The problem, Rob, is I am very unsure about Rhys Hines. I'd like to give him another chance. I really would. The problem is we have so many guys. The issue was 2 years ago, he was pretty good. Last year, he was pretty bad when he came up to the majors. There's an element where he might just be a quadruple A player, and he just may never be the guy who can be major league guy. But I want to figure that out, too. I don't know exactly what the right way is because I want to keep Marte up here. But the other problem that complicates things is he can't hit lefties. So that's almost the same problem that we have with Marte. Yeah. He's batting .054 against lefties in his major league career, .288 against righties. So somehow we get all the backwards players where they're all doing things the wrong way, or not the wrong way, but they're doing things in a way that's not traditional. So if you bring him up, do you get in a situation where he's getting benched for Benson too, against righties? And that creates a problem where it's like, okay, if he's up here, is he getting the at bats he needs to really develop as well? So we're in a spot where it's a good spot to be in. We have too many outfielders. I still would like to maybe trade some of these guys and get some guys who can be more impactful this year, whether it is another bat, whether it is more bullpen arm, a star bullpen arm, whatever it might be. I would like to kind of trade some of these guys because there's not enough time and room. But yeah, I'm okay if tomorrow I would say this the option of like Reese Hines is like the shiny new object. I'm not sure that it's better than what we have on the roster right now.
I agree.
Will I give it a chance? Will I give it a chance? Sure. Like if that's what they want to do. Will I be too upset if they send Marte down? I'll be a little upset because I do think that he should be the starting like opening day right fielder for every day. But I'm not going to have a huge issue with it. But I don't know if bringing him up is really going to make this team better. Maybe it's worth a shot. Is kind of what I would say. It's not like it's for sure going to make the team better. He's got a lot of power. He still chases way too much. Something you talked about a couple minutes ago, Rob. It's a big risk, and doing the same thing, bringing up another guy who can't hit lefties as a right-handed batter is something that I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how you fit everyone into the opening day or into the starting lineup if you have Benson starting against righties, but also need Reese Hines to hit lefties when he doesn't hit lefties. So it's a bad issue to have with both the guys they bring up, and I think we just have to give people opportunity. So like I said with the other guys too, Marte, I'll give you another week or two to figure it out tops. If that's not figured out in terms of your playing time, or when you do get playing time against lefties, you don't figure it out. Maybe we should give Reese Hines a chance to hit lefties again, even though he's been bad too. I don't.
Well, so I'll give you his splits, by the way, real quickly. So he has 7 walks to 9 strikeouts, which is pretty outstanding for him, honestly. He literally had 6 walks to 35 strikeouts to give you how much of a difference his ratio has become. He's got 13 hits, 2 doubles, 1 triple, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs down there in Louisville, including a game winner. To your point, he is batting .433 against righties. Now, he has only had 8 plate appearances, 4 official at-bats. He's been walked 4 times by lefties. So he's clearly seeing them better, but he does not have a hit against them in those plate appearances still. He's got 2 strikeouts to 4 walks. But I don't know what to say because I agree with you. I think Marte should be playing. But my point more becomes, and I know you're not arguing this, I just want to reiterate this for Justin specifically. I think Noelvi Marte is very good. I think it has to be something to where he is not doing what they want from him. And, maybe this is, I don't think he's ever going to be anywhere close to this kind of a player, but maybe he has a similar mindset / attitude as one named Manny Ramirez, right? If you remember Manny being Manny, the problem was that Manny was a Hall of Fame type hitter, so he could get away with a lot more than Noelvi Marte can. So maybe that is what is going on here. I don't know, Joe, if maybe you're feeling the same way. I just, they've got to come to some sort of conclusion. They've got to kind of get something worked out here because he's got too much potential to just be sitting the whole time. And if it's really a work ethic thing, and between that and the PEDs, if they feel like he's a guy who is still immature and unable to figure it out, then I would rather them just trade him at this point. There's no reason to have him on this team if they're that worried about his immaturity, because those two things scream immaturity to me. So the last thing I'll say on is I expect that he should be playing most of this week, right? They should have it. And if you see Will Benson coming up, because I believe we are facing, I think, all righties in the Marlins series. If not, then maybe one lefty, but for the most part, righties. If that is the case, Joe, and he is still not playing, then not a great sign is the way I'll put it.
No, and just last points on this too. Again, I don't want to call it his work ethic if that's not what it is, but they had some sort of meeting, and this is. I will trust Terry to communicate to the front office to get the best team out there to win. It's something we talked about the last couple of years with Terry being manager. Nomar Garciaparra was, yes, there were some injuries at some point where before the Red Sox 2004 season, he wasn't as quite as good as he was, but he was one of the best hitters in the league in the 90s. People thought he might hit 400 some years. Like, it was that good. Mm-hmm. And they ended up trading him and winning a World Series. So I trust Terry will talk to the front office. But I also know that we just don't know everything going on in these players' lives and how they are. Remember, the same thing happened. Like, I like Marte. I don't know how hard he works. I'm not there. Like, I don't know. I assume he works hard, but I assume everyone works hard, and that's not always the case. Remember Jesse Winker when everyone was crazy mad that they traded Jesse Winker, and then it came out that, oh, maybe he didn't really work that hard. Maybe there's like a work ethic issue here. And then he goes off and like really hasn't been the guy that we ever thought he was in Cincinnati. Maybe that's something they need to do with Marte. Maybe it is sending him off. And it's like, again, I'm not going to judge Marte one way or the other. I just think, if that is an issue, maybe that's something that might happen where they dumped Winker when everyone loved him and thought he was the greatest thing ever. And then I don't remember what they got in the Winker trade specifically right now, Rob, but at the end of the day, they sold on him at the right time. And maybe that's something
they
they have to do with
absolutely
Marte.
did.
Yeah, well, maybe that's something they have to do with Marte too. So I believe in Marte. I want him to start every day. Maybe there's a solution to this that is like that. Maybe the solution is Marte just figures it out. He's still a young guy, and I guess the base point is I trust Tito to get the most out of this team. I'm not going to sit here. I will nitpick the offense a little bit right now, but I'm not going to nitpick Terry's decisions when they're sitting at a very good record at this point. If it goes on and we start losing games, then yeah, that's fair to nitpick it and say, hey, that's not good. But for right now, pretty happy with where we're at, and yeah, I do want to see Marte play more.
Yeah, so I will say the Reds, by the way, you want to talk about that trade real quickly? It was Winker and Eugenio Suarez for Justin Dunn, who didn't really work out, but Jake Fraley, Brandon Williamson, and the player to be named later Connor Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
So that trade, I think, worked out pretty well. I know a lot of people like to, crap on the front office, but I generally think if they had more money, I think this front office may not be as... I don't know, as maligned as they are, is what I'll say. But, yeah, I don't even think Winker has a team this year, Joe.
I don't remember him signing, but no, and also some of it's too. Sometimes the front office makes good decisions, and maybe it's a player development issue too with somebody like we're talking about Marte. Maybe it's no coach in the minor leagues really got to him. No coach really, got things rolling. We've seen this with not just maybe Winker's rumored lack of work ethic, but also with guys who. Are inconsistent. We've had so many inconsistencies with our hitters, too. Maybe there's some player development issues that the front office gets blamed for. I guess at the end of the day, it is their fault because they hire the player development guys, but something to think about.
We'll have to see. Moving on. Marlins Angels. Let's do this, Joe. And we have a lot of opinions, by the way, today, so we apologize this one's a little longer, but there's a lot to go over. A lot of good baseball that we've seen lately. Joe, it will be, and I did check, there will be no lefties starting against us this week. So that is generally a good sign for our Cincinnati Reds. But it will be Brandon Williamson versus Jansen Junk. Then you will have Andrew Abbott versus Sandy Alcantara. Brady Singer versus Yuri Perez. And Rhett Lowder versus Max Meyer. Joe, this is an interesting series because the Marlins kind of took the Yankees to the brink. The entire series. They did only win one game on Sunday, but they hit very well during this time period. They are generally hitting very well. They're not hitting for a ton of power necessarily, but they are getting on base. They're not walking a lot either, Joe. They're just hitting. Liam Hicks has 3 home runs this year. Xavier Edwards has 16 hits. He's batting .471. Otto Lopez has got 11 hits. He's batting .333. Javier Sanoa, who I believe was on the Mexico team, he's got 9 hits in his 21 at-bats as well. They are a pretty solid hitting team. Pitching-wise, maybe a little more shaky. Yuri Perez has not been great. He's been having some walk problems. Max Meyer, who we will face, has a .466 ERA to start the season. Jansen Junk has only pitched in 1 game so far. He gave up only 2 runs, but it was in 4 innings. Sandy Alcantara has been absolutely insane so far, so not a great matchup there for us. But overall, I think this team is better than people give them credit for. Their bullpen isn't necessarily that great. Their lineup's probably hitting a little bit above what you would expect, and their starting pitching is, I would say, okay at best, Joe. How are you feeling about this team?
Yeah, not a good team. They are tied for the top of the NL East right now at 6-3. They're a team that has a couple players. Xavier Edwards is one of my favorites to watch, who's not on the Reds. Guy who makes good contact, plays decent shortstop. But this is you can kind of find holes in their lineup if you look not even that hard. You can find pretty good holes. They have some young players who have some potential. Was it? I think Augustine Ramirez was the one that last year he came up and was throwing guys
Yes.
out on us the first career start. Xavier Edwards, Augustin Ramirez, who has not hit the ball well this year, but he's something to know. Sandy Alcantara had a terrible year last year. He seemingly rebounded, 0 ERA. We have to face him, which makes things interesting with the talks we had earlier about the struggling against good starting pitchers. And if he is truly back, I mean, that's tough. And yeah, Yuri Perez is a guy I think they'd want more out of, but he's still very young and has some potential. I think this team in the past has had a lot of injuries at the starting pitcher position. And having Sandy back at the top is huge for this team. Maybe it can keep them somewhat competitive. As a reminder, last year they did kind of make a push after the trade deadline to kind of get kind of back into contention a little bit, but not all the way. So yeah, it's about a couple players here, a couple players there. Xavier Edwards, Sandy Alcantara, Augustin Ramirez, Yuri Perez if he pitches up to his potential. They did get Pete Fairbanks, who is known for his fun interviews and also a solid bullpen guy, closer. I don't really understand what the team strategy is for the Marlins, but they do have a couple good pieces, but overall, not the best team.
Yeah, I think they're better than people think, Joe. They don't really have a home crowd. Nobody goes to their games, which is unfortunate for them. But I'm not feeling super great about this series, if I'm being honest with you. I feel like 3-1 would generally be what I would do, but with the way that we've been hitting, even if Andrew Abbott is, I think, really, really good in that game, I think it's just going to come down to pitch count. I think pitch count is generally one of the hardest things for the Reds, and they are letting guys go deeper in games. Like, we're getting lucky that it's early in the season because some of these better guys are only able to go 85 pitches, but if they were able to go 100, right, we may be looking at a couple more losses because we just haven't been that patient. Like, it's weird. We're walking a lot, but that's because we get up in the count, I think, really early on. But if not, we're swinging, in the first 3 pitches, which can be fine if you're hitting. I don't necessarily want them to change their approach yet, but I do think against guys like Sandy Alcantara, they need to be able to take a pitch here and there, even if it may be a strike, but it's not a good strike for them to swing at. So I'm going to go 2-2. Joe, I would have really liked to go 3-1, but there's just something holding me back right now from doing it. I think that this Marlins team, Yankees were the best team in baseball in terms of pitching leading up to that series. And the Reds, while very good, I don't know if I think maybe overall we're better than the Yankees, but the Yankees were like on a heater type of pitching before they came into that series. So they did also face the worst offense in baseball, which is the Giants. So maybe that's it too. I don't really know still. But either way, my point is that the Marlins can hit, I think, better than people give them credit for. And I do think that their pitching will be good enough potentially with Alcantara getting them a win. And then I think we just drop maybe the Williamson game or the Singer game. I could see happening. So I'm going to go 2-2. I'm going to be a little more conservative in this one.
I definitely understand your reservations given how we don't take care of business as much as we should in the past. I'm going to say 3-1. I say we lose the Sandy start. I think Abbott's going to be one of those guys that all year long is just not going to get the type of run support he needs, and he's going to go up against their best pitchers a lot of times, and it's going to suck for him, even though he's a great pitcher and we love him. It's just that's how I feel it's going to go. Probably lose to Sandy if he is actually back, and if not, I mean, maybe we'll be the start of him struggling again, and that would be good for us, bad for him. But yeah, I'll go 3-1, and then I think that the other games are very winnable because I do think Yuri Perez has some potential, but he's still young and still makes some mistakes. Jansen Junk is the coolest name in baseball, I think, but I think he's had his issues, and Max Meyer as well. So 3-1, I'm not overly confident, but I think playing in the warm weather, it is going to rain, but they have the retractable roofs, so we'll get all the games in. But getting in the warm weather might get the team playing better. Not that we haven't had great weather here too, but when they were here, but I think, we'll get the bats blowing, the ball will travel further. I think this is the series we kind of start things out. I'm going to hope we go 3-1.
Okay, I like it. We'll move on to the Angels here. We come back home. It'll be Chase Burns versus, gosh, I cannot remember his first name. Give me just a second here. First name is Jack Kojanowitz. Nowitz, I believe is how it's pronounced. Then you got Ryan Johnson, a much easier, more common name, and Jose Soriano. Against an Angels team that, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Joe Adell stole 3 home runs over the weekend against the Seattle Mariners. Pretty impressive stuff, to say the least, honestly. But this team has been, I would say, overperforming. Unfortunately, Mike Trout got hurt again. He got hit with a ball in his hand and had to leave the game yesterday, I believe it was. But this team has not necessarily, they hit for power, but not really much else right now. They have been very meh. They have old friends Brent Suter, and Jamer Candelario is doing his thing, batting 154 and not walking once again. He made this team because he actually had a pretty good spring training. But, Joe, I'll be honest, I don't think that this team is very good at all, especially if Mike Trout is unavailable to play against us. Zachary Neto is pretty solid. Nolan Shanuel is pretty okay as well. Josh Lowe can be okay. Jorge Soler just depends on the day, right? He's got 8 RBIs, but I think most of those came on a grand slam that he hit. Joe Adell has potential, but he's never really fully been able to live up to it. Like, there's just a lot of, like, solid guys. I think Logan O'Hoppe will bat better than he is right now, but their pitching has not been very good other than Jose Soriano, but he's kind of been getting a little bit lucky on balls put in play so far this season. I really do think that this team is very beatable, in my opinion, Joe. I'm going to go 2-1 because I think most of the time you're going to lose a game in the series, but I do think that they take care of business here at home against an Angels team that, yes, again, they have power. That's not going to play necessarily well in our ballpark, but again, we do pretty well against not great starters, and I know Jose Soriano is their best one, but I fully believe that he will be kind of coming back to his norms by the time that we play him.
Yeah, I think we're lucky to avoid some of their best starting pitchers. We do get Soriano, and that sucks. But we don't get Reed Detmers, who's 2.38 ERA. We don't get Yusei Kikuchi, who is not playing well this season, but typically is one of their best starters. And I think that's huge for us. The pitching, I think, has been pretty solid for them overall. There have been a couple guys who've kind of ballooned the ERA. Ryan Johnson has a 16.2 ERA. Woof. That's pretty bad. The hitting is what's start, yeah, but the hitting is what's really pulling this team down. We get mad about our hitting. Oh brother, they're hitting 204. We were hitting 209. They have no one who is even qualified. I mean, more than 6 at bats has or more than 7 at bats has an average above 259. There's the most qualified hitter they have is like the highest qualified hitter they have is 243, which is Nolan Shanuel. So that this team stinks. Mike Trout, we don't know. He's not on the injured list yet. We'll see if that pops up here. But this is very much a team you can just pitch around Mike Trout and probably be fine. So I'm going to say 2-1. Maybe we lose that Soriano start. Again, just keep up with the team is struggling against good pitchers. Yeah, poor Evan. but no, maybe that'll be it. But I'll say 2-1, and I think it's going to be this. I mean, again, this has to be a winning week. This has to be a good week, and not because I think that things are over if they're not, but if we truly want to sustain these injuries that we have, if we truly want to get to the back half of the season where the schedule gets harder, this is like one of the weeks where I think if we can go 4-3 at the very minimum, I'm very happy. If we do anything less than that, I'm sitting here doing the same thing I did last year, which is pulling my hair out. So.
Hey, I think both of us will take either 10-6 or 11-5. I don't think either of us are going to be upset about that. I would love to see them score some runs this week. I think we have a very good opportunity to get off the schneid as a hitting club, and it's just going to be if the pitching can maintain doing what they're doing. If the pitching does that, Joe, look, I'm bold enough to say that if the hitting is a little bit better and the pitching continues to just be doing what they're doing, they don't have to be perfect, but just doing what they're doing, there's a very real possibility that we go 6-1 this week and we're 12-4 and we're all sitting here going, let's freaking go, man. Like, this is what they need to do. They need to get as big of a head start as they can before they start heading into these really, really good teams. And I think both of us will be very happy if that ends up being the case. But, Joe, we're going to wrap it up here. Give us your wise words or fun facts.
All right, well, the City Connect jerseys have leaked. They are red, and they have the same logo as the Black City Connects. The Reds said they will be wearing Friday home games. They'll be wearing the Black City Connects. They'll be wearing these new red ones on Saturdays. There's still people figuring whether they're vests or full jerseys. There's been some rumors that they're going to be vests.
Which should be awesome.
If they are vests and they sell them as vests, that'd be nice. Instead of, I guess Fanatics has a deal where they have to sell sleeves on all the vested jerseys, which let me wear my own shirt underneath. I don't know, but
cut it off.
Yeah, so it looks kind of cool. I still prefer, I think, the black ones, but yeah, it's cool to be getting out of the City Connect and to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking at the schedule here. We'll have games for that against the Angels and then against the Tigers later in the month as well. And I just want to say, Reds fans, really and truly, there's a real world where the Reds could be like as good as 10 games above 500 by the end of this month. They're playing the Marlins, the Angels. The Giants have been anemic offensively. The Twins are still a pretty not great team. The Rays are having kind of a rebuild year. Then you get the Rockies. The only expected to be truly playoff team is the Tigers, and if the Giants start to figure it out. So this is in, like Joe continues to say it, I'm going to say it too, this is a pretty incredibly important stretch of baseball before you head into a May with Pirates, Cubs, Astros, Guardians, Phillies, Mets, and Braves. So you got to take care of business now. Hopefully they will this week. First game, 6:40 tonight against the Marlins. I hope that you guys will be watching. But that is going to wrap it up for us here on the Reds Rundown. So, from our house to yours, thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.